Hello, everybody that's out there. On this little broadcast, I am probably going to just go through covers of NUELOW Games products because I'm doing soul searching in the aftermath of the open gaming license debacle. It has occurred to me whether the sort of products that I've produced through NUELOW Games, whether those are the sort of items lacking in inclusivity. Let me see. Make sure I get comments going. So in case somebody says something, I can see it. Or if somebody wants to come up and join me and talk to the one or two or five people that might find this live, and then a dozen or so that find it later on. But anyhow, I'm going to be looking at NUELOW Games covers to see and try to remember the products to see whether they are encouraging bigotry and hatred, and whether they are failing to be properly inclusionary in their diverse inclusiveness. Because something must have made Wizards lose their shit, and all of their employees stay up at night or cry themselves to sleep at the terrible, terrible things that are being produced under the Open Gaming License banner. Well, I doubt that any of them really saw any of my stuff because or I say my stuff, I'm referring to all the people that contributed over the years to the games. Andrew Pavlidis, Dave Mendez, LL Hundal, a whole host of people. Oh, Ultra News Network is in the house. Hello, sir. All that's going to happen tonight is me looking at covers and talking about books. Unless you have something more interesting that we should talk about. Because, like I said, I'm troubled and I must cleanse my soul with a struggle session or some such thing. So without further ado, hello. If you want to come and comment on artwork, I suppose anyone can come up. Let me put the link. In fact, if anyone else wants to come and show up, I can remember to put more links up there this time, unlike the other night. Now, if I can remember how to do this. No, that's not it. How did I do this the other night? Over here. Wow, I have a brain the size of a pea. Oh, I can help 10 people. I'll make a clip. We'll put it up there in case somebody wants to make comments on the covers other than myself, as I put them up there. And whether they can tell me whether they're properly inclusive in their inclusivity and diversiveness. Can't post messages of channels. Okay, whatever. All right, so I am going to share the screen. Share. This. So right there is one of the covers that we did for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. See, there's a little, over here. There's the little edition compatible bug in the back with the gaming license that Wizards was trying to disallow or deauthorize. Seems like it's pretty diverse to me. We've got a white guy, we got a lady here, a woman here, and we've got a fellow here who could be African, he could be Indian, could be anything, dark skin, so that's diverse, right? That can't be what they're talking about when we're not being inclusive enough in our releases. Can it? I hope not. And yeah, let's see, she's even fully clothed for not being sexist. Oh, and this is artwork by Sword Coat, by the way. And just in case somebody these covers, not the artwork, just put them together. And here's another 5th edition product we did. First one was this. These are NPCs, basically reference books if you are going to you need tools to run your game. I believe these were done like within 6 months of 5th edition debut. Andrew approached me and asked if we should do 5th edition. And I said I looked at it, said we had, and put these books together. And oh, Becca, hello. Got both of you here. So yeah, like I was saying, I'm just sort of talking about books that we've released over the recent years, and see whether they are properly diverse and inclusive in their nature. So here we have, well, I guess they're both white guys. That's not very diverse. But there's a demon. Looks like she's been liberated by somebody. So I guess that's anti-slavery, I suppose. So then here we have the 5th edition. We did some true products featuring our usual comics, along with 5th edition, basically variations on werewolves that you can use in your D&D 5th edition games. Why not? I will do this. If somebody wants to visit. There we go. So yeah, that is the first one of those. I think it was the first one. I believe the comics were illustrated by Pablo Marcos. I don't remember who the writer was, but Skywall did it originally, and we just reprinted them. And it's a, oh well, I guess there is suicidal ideation in that story since it ends with the little shooting himself because he's unhappy with his lot. But the story is also one about bullying. Bullying is bad, so I don't know, half and half. Uh-oh. Is everybody having that issue? Darn it. Uh-oh. That's no good. Here I am trying to cleanse my soul, engaging this little session, and nobody can hear it. So yeah, Becca or you now, Dan? Yeah. So everybody's having the trouble with the sound. Ah, right. Let's see what happens if I do this and this and this and that. That's probably actually where it's coming from. Is that better? All right. I sound far away. Maybe there's something wrong with the microphone settings. Let me try this. Okay, let me not mute myself. That would probably be bad. But let's go to audio. Okay, audio seems like it's working. Testing, testing. All right, well maybe not. Okay, let's see. There's a way to crank up the sound because the volume is low. Is what I'm gathering from Shallot, Lady of Shallot, Shallot. Or do I just need to speak up? The volume looks okay when I'm looking at the readouts. Let me try. Let's out. assume you got what I'm saying. Is everybody having this issue? And did that just help? I just tried switching sound to another channel. Wait for a moment for someone to tell me before I monkey some more. This. Oh, let's try this. See. I have to write these people so they need bigger track bars on their windows. Let me do that. God, it's really. Okay, well, let me. All right, I can only assume everyone is having this issue. No one is responding to me. So let me see if I can figure out what the heck is going on. Okay, that looks okay. That looks okay. Uh, nothing I can monkey with there. Network connection is fine. Try cranking up that, see if that made a difference. Shouldn't. Well, I guess I won't be purging my soul of the evil that has caused me to produce products that are it's not inclusive in their inclusiveness because I can't figure out why my volume is not working. Because everything looks like it, on my end, it looks like it should be working. Switch that and see if that shouldn't, but well. Okay, I just turned on stereo audio input. High resolution audio is on. This should. All right, well, if no one can hear me, then I guess I will just call this a night because, well, the reverberation issue, so I'm echoing. Okay, well, I think let me try looking at this. Okay, this over here. Nope, nothing there. No. Oh, I closed every window. That was not Well, I don't know how to fix this other than no, I don't know how to fix this. Okay, well, really? It works now? Okay, I guess all it took was switching it to a different setting, then switching it back to the original setting. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know because all I did was switch things back to where they were. Um, okay. Well, thanks for letting me know that you guys couldn't hear me. I appreciate it. Um, but as I was saying, I'm just kind of going over NUELOW Games products. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Pretty much turning it off and turning it back on again. And that's actually what I was about to try with everything, since I thought I'd done it with the sound, but I'd actually not gone all the way back to how it had been set up. Um, so anyhow, like I said, I'm just looking at covers, uh, ruminating about content, and am I being somewhat sarcastic? Well, yeah, probably. Uh, since I personally don't think that we've done anything that is uh, bad in that sense. Um, but I am actually, yeah, I am taking the opportunity to just sort of review our back catalog just to see. Actually, I also want to see if there's some of these that we need to combine into single projects and just reissue now that the open gaming hysteria is over with. Well, that remains to be seen because, as I've been saying, I still see a way they could shut it all down. I don't know why they're not trying that one, but anyhow, as I was saying, we did a few 5e products, not very many because Andrew got his law degree and had to, go to work for real. I didn't have a lot of time to mess around. Same thing with Hundal, not a law degree, but uh, I'm the only one that has no life. So, so I'm the only one that's still doing this kind of stuff out of the group that was doing it a few years ago. And technology will indeed be the death of us all. I think that you're probably right on that one. Not just conspiracy theory. The robots will rise up and kill us all, or something. That's actually, I think I mentioned the other night I was reading a comic called Mech Things. It took me longer to get through than I thought, just because the artist writer really loves to overwrite, and that's going to be part of the review when I finally get it done. But yeah, in case anyone wants to go up and comment. So this was, as I said, well, maybe the werewolf drooling. Maybe that's not being nice toward werewolves. Um, so maybe we should look at that. Now, this one, Soul Drinkers, that's sort of a take on psychic vampires, succubuses. Talking with Dave King about this one the other night. Uh, Nothing on this cover can be viewed as exclusionary or offensive, can it? I don't think so. That's a pretty neutral cover. But yeah, it's got comics by Marv Wolfman and Pablo Marcos in it, and then Andrew Pavlidis did um, some rules for soul-eating demon creatures in fifth edition D&D, and I think he had some generic NPC stats that I wrote up um, profiles for, character profiles for, descriptions, so you could use them in your games. Yeah, actually, I've someone said that the other night too about this particular product. Um, and then this was the last one we did. It was the biggest. It had a whole bunch of rules for alternate sort of vampires, and I forget who the artist is. Oh, the artist on this particular cover, that would be me with Photoshop and filters. Given that this actually was originally a photograph of a lady, um, well, I don't know, Welch. Maybe if your ex ever posed for stock photos back in the uh, mid '90s, early 2000s, maybe that could be your ex, for all I know, originally. And then, as I said, run through a few Photoshop filters and stuff. Um, why is my brain misfiring tonight as to how to? There we go. That's why I am being an idiot. The track bar is off again. There we go. So yeah, that's who the artist was on that one. And this one, I do not remember who the artist is. Sorry to whoever made this cover, this art. Was probably again some something that we licensed via a clip art package, or because that's most of NUELOW Games is a very 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 low budget outfit, and I think I've only commissioned about a dozen real covers over the years, or real original covers. All the other art has been reused, and I think this is probably something that we got in a package of some sort. But this had vampires. Again, it had comics illustrated by Pablo Marcos. Actually, all of the art in this series of Creature Catalog, it was all Pablo Marcos, and that was intentional. And I think one story is about a vampire crashes in the desert with some humans in a plane, and he has to keep them alive so he can feed off them. And the first story was some people engaging in a rather unorthodox way to bring a vampire down. I think those were the only two stories in this one, but it was the biggest. It was like 40 some pages. But I don't see anything here that isn't that's exclusionary or sexist or anything, except this maybe, I don't know. But it's a vampire, it's a monster. What do you expect? Jeez. Now this is probably one of the things keeping the poor people at Wizards up at night. Since this was from the very beginning made as an adult product, hence the title, Feats of an Adult Nature. Actually, what it was making fun of adult gaming products and people who felt the need to be sexy in games, or that you had to bring sexuality into role-playing games. Something I've always found kind of ridiculous. If you want to do, have some romance, sure, but fade to black. We don't need to, in my opinion, you don't necessarily need to know the sexuality of every character that you come across, and they don't need to express it either. Now, and hence this product, because we made rules that were intended to make fun of it. When I say we, actually, this was all LL Hundal. I think I edited it and put in a few other little tidbits. And in her mind, this would be put out. It would make people laugh, and then it would fade into complete obscurity and be forgotten about, and nobody ever buy it ever again. It is behind a mature content wall at Drive-Thru RPG, and it still sells. Some months it sells as many as 5 or 6 copies. And this is for a game system that hasn't been supported for 20 years now. Um, all right, fine. I guess if I am engaging in purging my soul and doing the whole struggle session thing, yeah, I should admit I did invent strip D&D. Although it was, I'm just completely clean here during this stream here. Yes, I did invent strip D&D, and yes, I did run numerous strip D&D campaigns, but generally it was just me stripping, and it was back when I was working for the CIA, and it was done when they had to stop with the other enhanced interrogation techniques. You wouldn't believe how quickly people will start talking when I start taking off my clothes. It is amazing. Yes, I laugh at my own jokes too. But anyhow, this was actually our top selling product for I think 3 years before it fell off that perch, and it still is the only one of that first wave of releases we had that is still selling. So yes, Dave King, that is exactly what they said, and once they started talking, I put it on. Yeah, I would have the I should start an OnlyFans channel. People would pay me to not take my clothes off. That's probably a joke that's been made a million times. But this is the only other kind of adult themed product that we've done. And in fact, it's one of the few fiction collections we've released that has game material in it. Yep. Yeah. I suppose one side effect of people that come into the stream tonight, they too will be lying awake at night, not being able to sleep, sort of like the poor people at Wizards of the Coast, worrying about evil product being released. Except with me, it'll be you will not be able to scrub your the images that I'm placing in your minds during tonight's stream. That's just cruel and inhumane. Well, yes, there is a reason why I'm no longer with the CIA. And of course, now I've revealed my dark past. This may or may not be my last live stream. I mean, we will see in a day or two whether I'm still around and still posting. Yeah. And instead of counting sheep, yep, you will be counting eye burns. Yes, you will. And therapy. You'll be needing much therapy. Oh, yep. Yep, I will cover it if you can find me once I've been tossed in a black site somewhere for revealing my what state secrets I had. Although I guess that is the end thing, having state secrets that's laying around, although maybe you shouldn't talk about them. Well, regardless, this is also a book that has, quote, adult content, including the short stories. One of the things that I enjoyed doing with NUELOW Games a few years back was putting out more obscure Robert Howard stuff. And among perhaps his most obscure stuff were the stories he did for adult-themed pulp magazines. Basically, they are like Harlequin romance for men, is the best way to describe them. Um, they were probably very outrageous back in 1932, but in modern day, not that shocking. Still shocking enough that they have to go behind the paywall or the adult content wall. And they're in the D20 rules in here also are kind of mature oriented. Some of them involve drinking. Um, I think this is also the product where, um, oh, what was it called? Wardrobe malfunction, where we actually made game mechanics for wardrobe malfunctions, as used for distractions or what have you. So this again, this has an open gaming license in the back, so this could be one of those unfortunate evil products that are keeping the poor wizards people up at night and is ruining um, their reputation. So yeah, maybe I should feel guilty about this one. I don't know though, because it's pretty clear that it's not for kiddies. Although this one was done not tongue in cheek, this one was pretty much done seriously. If you wanted some more mature themes in your game, then this was a product for you. Or if you're just a Robert E. Howard fan. So I don't know. Maybe that's not what's worrying them. What reputation? Wizards of the Coast? Well, apparently, if you ask them, um, they will tell you that they needed to get to deauthorize Open Gaming License 1.0A because it didn't allow them to properly control the market. And there were products out there that were threatening um, their quote unquote brand. I have no idea what those products could be. Um, well, I can think of two that I've seen over the years. And this half screen is really throwing me off. Think of two that I've seen over the years. Um, one was called Tournament of Rapists. And I think the idea was the characters were part of um, uh, some sort of mixed martial arts thing, or death matches, death cage matches, where the most evil of the evil people uh, fight to the death. I think that's what the idea was, and it was behind a really unfortunate title. I will admit this was years ago. I don't remember. The thing that bothered me the most about that particular situation, it was I can't fault people for bad taste. Let's face it. But that product was a bit shocking to me. Not shocking enough that I remember really what was in it, but what was most appalling to me was the behavior of other publishers. Other publishers were going to Drive Through RPG, where a lot of us sell our online stuff, and demanding that they should take this product down and knock that publisher off out of their store, or they would take their stuff and they would walk. You know, I'm of the opinion that what I publish doesn't really impact what you publish, and vice versa, because we each have our own store. You go to the NUELOW Games storefront on RPG now, and you see our products. You see the stuff I've done. You see the stuff Handal has done, but you don't see other people. And yeah, I'm spinning out off topic here, but yes, Welsh, you are correct. Particularly, well, reputation of being tyrannical assholes, that's come into play lately in the last couple of weeks. mostly because their efforts to squelch the open game license also involved the most ridiculous um, ethics code that I've ever seen, or moral code that I've ever seen. It's basically anything that you produce under this license that we deem to be um, sexist, or racist, or against our inclusionary values, or criminal, that will permit us to pretty much yank the license from you and make you pulp your books if you have produced them anything but digitally. It was so wide open that there's just no way anyone could have signed on to that license, and I have no idea, and I cannot even begin to comprehend how it got past anybody in the legal department or even anyone in the editorial department. Anyone with a brain looked at that and went, "There's no way anyone's going to sign on to this license." So the whole thing exploded, and but from the very beginning, they were saying that they had to protect their brand from offensive third-party products. So you look at this. Would anybody mistake that for an official Wizards of the Coast release? Even back when people would know what modern basics would imply and what a feat was, and OGL games. There's nothing here that A, it's not D&D, and B, it's not branded with anything that Wizards has any connection to. And that's something that a lot of these things never had, but you will start seeing at some point. Well, none of the comics and fiction that had games in them had any sort of other logos on them. These didn't have them because I didn't like the logos at the time. But again, I guess the lady's in a bikini here, so maybe that's exclusionary and sexist, and I should feel guilty about the existence of this particular product. But the rules in here are pretty darn good. Maybe that's what keeps Wizards up at night. This magic system that can be brought into any class that you're playing, and that's actually pretty well balanced, if I say so myself. I guess there's this one. I guess this one I could be. Hey, ZXL, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm just looking at covers and musing about whether I am. Oh, yeah, and also, of course, another sign I'm evil and exclusionary and vile is the disclaimers that have been slapped on everything I've done for Wizards of the Coast before I moved on to other. Well, before I went to work for the CIA. So there's Feather Charms. This little thing was released around the time we did a product called Warrior Maiden Starlight, which was a collection of comics uh, by Ralph Mayo that was about pre-European contact Hurons, and specifically about a teenage girl that was frustrated by the fact that she was expected to just be a girl and just do what women do. And she wanted to go out and shoot things with arrows and just generally be a guy. And that's basically what the stories are about: is her fighting against gender roles in her society. Uh, I actually, I I generally say very mean things about sensitivity readers, but this particular book, I actually, before we put it out, um, since Hundal wrote some material for it, and neither her nor I are Native Americans, I thought I would have a couple of my Native American friends read it and let us know if something in Warrior Maiden Starlight seemed wrong or offensive to them. One of them never responded. I mean, we've talked since, and we're still friends, so she wasn't so outraged by the book. And the other one read it and said that nothing jumped out at him, and but he also wasn't familiar with the historical circumstances that that was a backdrop for these stories, which was the war between the Huron and the Mohicans, I think it was, or some other one other those one of those other nations that are out there, one of the bigger ones. Probably not Mohicans. That's just in my head because, well, I guess that means I am a racist. I don't know. But I forget. This thing was published 10 years ago. But yeah, no one thought it was offensive. But this basically was a little spin-off product. Just a bunch of minor magic items. Gave you like +1 or +2 bonuses. And it was made so it worked pretty much any game, any D20 based game you used. So yeah, maybe the fact that this was and this particular ILO is taken from one of the original. Actually, I think the series that Starlight appeared in was called Indians. I think it was by Quality Comics, the original series way back in the day. But is this one? Is this one of the ones that they're worried about? It's ruining the value of their brand, threatening the inclusivity of their game. I don't know. I would like to think not, but I guess. Trying to be serious? No, I don't think so. Oops, that's the wrong cover. But this is more modern advances. I got the wrong graphic here. Too small to probably see what it is, but this is a reprint of a couple of things, and one is a hardcore activist character class you can play, where you basically run around and protest and light things on fire. And the other one, the Masked Avenger, is a violent Batman-style superhero kind of person, except, as I said, violent. Break people's bones as well as talk, rather than talk to them, that sort of character. So maybe this is damaging to the brand and the inclusivity, because actually, no, these were both played very straight. But still, I mean, maybe you would get offended if you are the kind that likes to go out and peacefully protest, or if you think vigilantism is worthwhile and laudable. Yeah, maybe this would be offensive to people. I don't know. Again, I don't think so. But this is just pure game mechanics. And Alien Abductee, I suppose if you really are a hardcore believer in space aliens and that aliens abduct you, maybe this product could be offensive to you, because this is another one of those that was written primarily just for the fun of it and as something of a joke. You could use this genuinely to have characters that have been abducted by aliens. There are mechanics give them some sort of benefits to the game, but really the main purpose of this thing was, if you run games or playing games, you will know that there are certain players that miss game sessions quite frequently because of work, because of family, because of whatever. This has mechanics where that player that keeps missing, and then you have to, if you're the game master, you got to figure out how to work him in, because now the players, they were on the North Pole looking into the mysterious archaeological findings there, or sorry, the South Pole, but now they are in Rio de Janeiro, and they got there through a magic portal that the player character didn't go through. Well, he reappears in Rio de Janeiro because he was abducted by aliens, and they just drop him off back in Rio de Janeiro. And the player takes a feat that he's an alien abductee, and this just happens. So it was mostly just for fun and as a kind of meta game joke. But perhaps meta game jokes in products, perhaps those damage the Wizards of the Coast brand and the D&D brand, even though there's no D&D. I mean, there's no alien abductions in D&D, are there? Well, in Mystara, I guess there would be alien abductions because there's aliens that have crashed the spaceship. So here we have one of our releases actually has an OGL logo on it. So is this one that is damaging of their brand? It is really what it says here. There's adventure seeds and there's feats that will make your character better at driving cars, flying planes, driving trains. Actually, the working title was Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And I think Hundal suggested this as a better title. But yeah, so is this offensive? Is this cover offensive? Because the dark skinned guy is about to chuck a grenade up into this plane. He's dangling off of the girl, and the girl's legs are showing. This, so this might be the one that's damaging to the brand. Yeah. Anyone want to tell me that this is what I should be sorry for? And looking at this cover now, well, we should have actually gone in and retouched these. And I do remember actually, this guy was actually at one point, we had him colored basically the same tone as this guy down here, and then decided that he didn't pop enough. His face kind of blended into this background, so we went back to having him being a white guy. Cool. I'll look at that later, and everyone else go check out his thing. So yeah, okay. I guess this may. Her gun is the wrong color. The holster, you mean? Well, let's see. Can I zoom in on that? Let's see. No, I guess I can't. Her gun is the wrong color. I don't get it. Oh, because the belt is a different color from the holster? Actually, that is kind of sloppy. The holster should probably have a little shine to it like the belt. Wonder if we recolored the belt. I don't remember. Yeah. Yeah, I think probably we're monkeying this and we didn't. Oh, yeah, and actually, yeah, well, the briefcase would be a different color because it's probably. So, yeah. So this might be what is damaging to the brand. Or maybe this. This is a horror. This was just rules for horror that we did. Just feats and skills and things. Just pure game mechanics for horror games. Because one of the things I did for Wizards when I was there, and then tried to do it with West End Games, was I worked on their Gothic products, the Ravenloft game line, and so of course I want to do some more horror stuff. And you will see horror is a recurring theme in the releases. So people who don't like spiders, they would probably not feel very included if they were to look at this cover. So I've done a disservice to people who are arachnophobic. So perhaps this is one of the things that they were being kept up by people that did things like this, put spiders on covers, because people who don't like spiders, or maybe the fact that the lady is wearing lipstick, maybe that's an issue. Well, I don't know. Well, there's this one. I should probably actually get hey, Welsh, if you're still here, or Becca, you guys are in tight with Chili de Castro, right? I'm sure he would have a thing or two to say about this one. It's basically rules for playing campaigns where you're cop characters. As you could probably tell from the guy in his leather coat here, that we were sort of thinking about the 1970s films and cop shows when we put this thing together, or even into the 80s. And you can be a good cop or you can be a bad cop, because well, you're the player character. You decide what you want to be. So maybe for sovereign citizens and uh, people like Chilito, maybe maybe they feel excluded from by something like this. So again, maybe this is what was keeping the Wizards of the Coast people up at night. And then of course there's this. This is most definitely something that would bring down their brand. Um, Title is OGL Drunkards, and as is implied in the title, these are rules for characters who drink a lot and fall down and drink more. Um, yeah, now I'm blanking on the song, but yeah, there's even a song about this. You pour a whiskey drink, pour a vodka drink, so on and so forth. But one thing that's been pointed out to me that I didn't notice when I picked this particular photo to use for the cover is this lady's hand. She's either got the widest hips of any human being and then kind of a weirdly long arm, or she's got massive, massive claw-like hands. Not quite sure what's going on there, but no, we did not change the picture or do anything with the hands, or maybe she's reaching out toward the viewer and it just looks weird. But given this is a little booklet with nothing but rules in it for characters who drink too much, maybe this is the sort of thing that was damaging to their brand and why OGL 1.0A had to be crushed. And this is a superhero product. It's got dragons. Wizards was trying to. Yeah, I guess that's true too. This lady just has claws for hands. You know what? Maybe we have photographic evidence that aliens exist, and one of them was a model for advertising photos in the 80s and 90s. Yeah. This dragons get mentioned here because this is part rules, part game setup. Basically, in ancient times, there were massive elemental dragons. If I remember correctly, gods came along, or big heroes came along. They destroyed the elemental dragons, but the dragon's energy sort of spread throughout the world and went into select human beings, people who were there when the dragons were destroyed. The energy radiated them, and they took on part of the dragon essence, and that has been in human bloodlines ever since. And so they have elemental powers, people that have inherited this from the dragons. So it's game rules for playing superheroes, basically, with rationale for where the powers come from. And other than the mentioning of dragons, which, as I mentioned the other night, Wizards was trying to claim as some sort of proprietary thing. I don't see how this could be dragging anyone's brand down. This cover is by Storm Cook, drawing of this lady here, who is zapping things with lightning. And she's kind of got a dragon on her leotard here. Maybe the fact that she's wearing skin tight clothes, maybe that's exclusionary. I don't know. I don't think so, but then I'm a guy. And then there's this one, Modern Advances. See, as opposed to the Modern Basics, which were just base classes and feats and such. Actually, there were no classes. They were just feats and stuff. Modern Advances had classes in them for D20 Modern, hence the title. And I left my byline off of this one. Oh, shame on me. Well, the Garden Mage is a low-level wizard that, well, he tends gardens. You want that perfect green lawn? Well, he's your man. So once again, this is a goofy little product that I have a very hard time seeing can damage anybody's brand. So once again, I don't see the issue because it's just was just silly fun. And Ghostmaster, again, got the wrong graphic that I pulled up. Ghostmaster is basically game rules. If anybody remembers the old TV show, what was it called? Ghost Whisperer. Ghost Whisperer with Jennifer Love Hewitt. This is basically Ghost Whisperer with the serial numbers filed off. Or if you have a character that has a guardian spirit, rules would also apply if you want to bring that into the game. But mostly we were doing it with Ghost Whisperer in mind. Although the sample character in here, that's why there's a lady and then there's a transparent lady standing next to her. This NPC described in the product as the sample character actually has a ghost that follows her around. And that's one of the things you can do with these rules. Player characters can basically be psychics. They see ghosts, or ghosts attach themselves to them, and they can be helpful. Oh, actually, there is that other series that came out years after this was done. Because one of the way you get the ghost powers in that particular product is, yes, I'm pointing at my screen, even though you guys don't know what the hell I'm doing. If you have a near-death experience or severely injured, basically go to 0 hit points in the game, one of the abilities you can gain is the ability to see ghosts. And there is that TV show right now. It's airing on CBS called Ghosts. I think it's called Ghosts. And it originated as a British series, actually. ITW? It's a Lionsgate's thing, too. But they did an Americanized version starring an Australian actress doing an American accent, which is kind of funny. But so it's a British import adapted for the American market, starring a Australian doing an American accent. But in that show, the husband and wife inherit an old house and want to turn it into a bed and breakfast. She has an accident, almost dies, and when she comes back to the house, she realizes that it's full of ghosts, and basically she can see ghosts now. And that's one of the ways you get to see ghosts in this product is you almost die, which happens to player characters quite a bit. But yeah, this one, unless you think perhaps that I'm belittling psychics, this one I don't see how it could damage anyone's brand. Hard to kill. These are rules that basically, as the title implies, makes your character hard to kill. So it's the opposite of the other one. It stops you from going down to 0 hit points and being able to see ghosts. Again, I don't see how this could possibly endanger anyone's brand, except maybe because this guy has a flat top and they're fighting in a subway. I don't know. Maybe the fact he's wearing pinstripes. So this one, that cover, by the way, is a really ancient Dick Giordano drawing. I don't remember where it came from originally, but I did a very bad job up here because I was working on a computer with a bad screen, so I couldn't quite see what I was doing, and so this got way too flat up here. Anyhow, Secrets of the Immortals, another Storm Cook cover. This is essentially Doctor Who crossed with Highlander with the serial numbers filed off. Again, I don't see where this could possibly damage anyone's brand. Even if you're doing a Doctor Who role-playing game, this wouldn't damage your brand. If anything, this could enhance it. And if you're doing Wizards of the Coast, couldn't damage your brand because this is more of a science fiction-y sort of thing. Because you see here again, modern basics. All of these products, they are for game lines that Wizards hasn't given two craps about for about 18 years at this point. So there's absolutely no reason for them to want to crush things like this, I can see. Other than somebody pointed out to me that maybe it's one of you guys here, that the gun that this girl is carrying, or maybe it was him, they mentioned the make of the gun. And I, despite my CIA background, I don't know guns. Harry Callahan had the most powerful handgun in the world. That's really all I could tell you. But apparently, one of these guns in this picture is notorious for jamming, and that's why there's or backfiring or something, and that's why they're saying that the thing is her that she had to be immortal because of the gun that she's carrying is a piece of crap apparently. That hat, I guess the hat could be offensive to people. The brim isn't wide enough, I suppose, and therefore damaging the brand. Maybe my choice of font here is damaging to Wizards brand. I don't know. But this actually is one of my personal favorites of the ones that we've done. I had a lot of fun designing this one. So I like to think that it's properly inclusive in its inclusiveness. Especially since you have characters, they don't die. Every time you do die, you regenerate. I think there is a chance regeneration will fail, but you regenerate and there's even a mechanism by which you can gain the ability to control your regenerations to some extent. And it's full of tables that determine how oh, another thing that predates what happened in Doctor Who. This one actually has mechanics that you can regenerate once you die and you regenerate into somebody else. You have a chance of changing sex. You can become a man or a woman when you regenerate randomly. And this was out well before Doctor Who uh, decided to make the Doctor a woman for a couple of seasons. So yes, I am a creative genius. It's such an obvious idea, and in fact, now that I'm thinking about it, they had done it before we did this because they had the master turn into a woman, as I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. So the general gist of this existed before, but whatever. So we did not do it first. Doctor Who did it. And okay, here's another modern basics. Oh, that, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned that. That's another Store and Cook cover. I forget who this is, but as the title implies, it's rules for playing jungle characters. The cover probably spells that out very clearly as well. Here you've got a Tarzan knockoff that's blonde instead of black haired, and then this girl here. I think we actually recolored this cover and made her dark skinned, if I'm remembering right. So once again, we made an effort to be inclusionary, because race is how you're inclusionary, right? At least that's what I'm told. Maybe, well, the guy is just as unclothed as the girl, so there's nothing that you could point to that as being brand damaging either. So there's no sexism here. And ninja cuties. Maybe the title is bad. Maybe ninja is cultural appropriation. But we put her in a, she's in a fox mask. She's got a fox, so Kitsune is Echo here. So I still don't know that it's cultural appropriation, especially since this particular setup here, again, it's rules for playing um, a female-dominated ninja clan. This is partly sarcastic and partly in the rule set, as I recall, um, the ninjas that are in. Oh, that's what it is. Yes, now I remember. It's not a female-dominated ninja clan. What it is a ninja clan that you basically have to have a very high charisma score, whether you're male or female. There happens to be a lot of they're very open to women in this particular ninja clan, but personality matters more than the ability to stab people. Uh, Although that's important as well, because well, it's a role playing game, and role playing games are about stabbing and shooting people. So and ninjas do stab people, but these ninjas they're just as likely to con you than kill you. Um, and so, and I don't remember if this was just on the blog or whether it made it into the product, but there are sent these they have base of operations scattered around the world. Their front is a modeling agency, if I recall correctly, and and yeah. So again, I don't know how this would be damaging to Wizard's brand. I did not have a sensitivity reader read it though, because I don't know any ninjas, so I don't know. Sun says there has to be, yeah. No way. Sun says there has to be pew pew to keep it interesting. And oh, you know what? I also remember who did this. The guy that did this cover, I think his first name is Dan, but I don't remember the rest of it. So I do not know. This is deep reaching back into the, I think, 100,000 stock photos we have sitting around. And this is OGL Redheads. Oh, and I distracted myself here. Yeah, there has to be some pew pew. Your son is absolutely correct. And actually, in that Ninja Cuties product, one of the pew pew aspects is what is it called? Basically, sort of an improvised weapon thing. I mean, anything is a weapon. Any move you make is a there's like combat dancing essentially. With we do goofy things, but yes, no, there is pew pew. Um, there are elements that enhance the pew pew, but I will admit I am one of these dorky story kind of game masters that, and even when I'm writing, I'm always wanting to come up with stories or material that will generate stories as well as the pew pew. I mean, your son is right. There does need to be pew pew. um, and here, OGL Redheads again. This is, well, maybe here, maybe this is the thing that is going to be offensive to people. But this was actually written by a redhead. LL Hundahl came up with this, more or less. I think I did a couple of items and edited it, but she did the design. And basically, this plays off of the whole notion that redheads have magic powers just because they're redheads. So if people are offended by this, then clearly they're the bigots, because this was not only written by a redhead, but played by a redhead. So yeah, this cannot possibly damage anyone's brand. Except maybe this Russian writing in the background. I don't know. And this is just another modern basic product. Called for a song and a dance because it has a bunch of game mechanics inspired by songs. Redhead magical powers. how to annoy everyone in the room and feel entitled to do so. I think actually that's a skill in that product. Or maybe not. I don't recall. It's been years since I've actually looked at it, but um, I know some perfectly nice redheads. um, then there are some that can be very annoying too. I know some very loud redheads too. Uh, let's see, but yeah, song and a dance, just game mechanics inspired by popular songs. For example, there's a set of magic items. Um, I can't remember whether it was myself or Hundal. I think Hundal did those. Inspired by a ZZ Top song, "A Sharp Dressed Man." So there's a hat, there's a top coat, there's a wallet. Everything he mentions in the lyrics, they're they're in this they're in this they're in this little booklet here. Um, and this also ties in with something that will maybe become product someday. So I'm not going to talk about that. But this again, lady playing a piano. There's a signature on the drawing, but I can't tell you what it says. I don't remember who this is, but this is a piece from the early 20s that is now in public domain, and we use it. Actually, it's also from a magazine that ceased publication in the late 20s, and so therefore no renewals were ever done in the 70s. So, but it's out of copyright anyway where you look at it. But again, I don't see how that could. Oh, you can attest to the fact that they are annoying and feel entitled to be so. All right. I bow to your superior knowledge. Let's see. Oh, there goes a cat. Former child star. Again, I should mention all of these products. I mean, the rules are generated both to add some game mechanics and to kind of be story generators or flesh out character backgrounds. And so this particular character here, um, he was, in the Goonies, and now he's working as a webmaster somewhere or something like that. I don't know. But again, unless you're a former child actor, well, actually, this thing, as I recall, this was kind of sympathetic toward the you had fame and fortune, and then it's suddenly gone because you now are getting you're getting pimples now or something. Um, so again, I don't see how that could possibly have damaged anyone's brand. This here, Modern Basics, we're back to just feats and skills and such for D20 Modern. And feats of seduction and subterfuge. This is basically the G-rated version of wait, where? Is he here? Did I miss him? I'd love to say hi. I can invite him up because I have again some of these. I think like good cop, bad cop. He could tell me whether that damaged anybody's brand. But this particular one, this is sort of the general audience version of the feats of an adult nature with the ability to play kind of James Bondian type characters tossed in. Oh, Chilito, former child actor. Okay, I see. Yeah, I don't know he quite counts though, because I think he was in his teens or maybe in his early 20s. But yeah, I get it now. Yep. Well, actually, he pretended to be a wrestler, so maybe that qualifies him as a child actor. All right, I should not put him down or sell him short. If Wizards heard of him, it might. Yeah, you're probably right. But so yes, this is basically geared to playing James Bond, or just con artists. And oh well, we've got a black guy in a blonde woman on the cover. So, we're not being racist or anything. So, yeah, I don't see any damage to anyone's brand there either. And here we have Jack Kirby. This is Jack Kirby drew this cover many, 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 many years ago, and it's been recolored. Uh, but the art was his. Tricks of the mind, rules for doing psychic characters, um, basically mind control type rules. So, and mind control uh, psychic abilities other than uh, you know seeing spirits and stuff. Although maybe no, this is strictly uh, reading minds and seeing the future and stuff like that. So unless you are, well, again, I don't know how this damages your brand. Your brand. Well, maybe the fact this lion has spots, maybe that's damaging to the brand. But it has horns too. So, and it's a dream he's having anyway. So who knows? Oh yeah, and dream sending. That's all something that it does. Secrets of the Witch Kind. Again, this is another favorite of mine. It's basically Bewitched with the serial numbers filed off, and with some of NUELOW Games' implied setting that runs through most of our releases uh, put in there. And this cover is by Bradley McDivitt, and you can even see here he does a kind of does a nod to Bewitched with the cover here. But I guess a little too much skin here. Could be shocking to people, shockingly sexist. It's a witch riding a broom that's stereotypical toward witches. So maybe this would make witches feel excluded. Despite the fact that inside the product, it's bewitched kind of witches is what this is made for. So in the end, they're sort of in a positive light. So I don't know. Maybe this is this is the sort of thing Wizards was all freaked out about. Again, I don't see it, but maybe. I'm not good at this struggle session stuff. I'm not purging my soul because I'm not seeing anything that's wrong. Uh, uh, yeah, have I seen the female characters in RPG games in D&D? Maybe not enough skin. You know what? Ashenia? Your last name is easy to pronounce. um, maybe, well, yeah, maybe that's why everything I worked on for TSR and Wizards has those labels on them that they were wrong then and wrong now, whatever the statement is. Because yeah, those have a lot of pictures in them where yeah, ladies are in this chainmail bikinis and stuff. Oh, and this actually might be the one. It's either this one or maybe it's Feats of Adult Nature, but one of these actually does have mechanics for basically wearing chainmail bikinis or not a lot of clothes, and you still have your you still have armor class like you were wearing the right outfits. Maybe this is the one. I don't know, but so we've got a giant red D20 behind these two ladies who are sword fighting in or fencing rather, fencing in high heels. So maybe that's damaging to the Wizards brand. Although, like she pointed out, even in some of the Wizards products, you've got the people in the ladies in the not a lot of clothing. But yeah, this is from 2016. So this actually is one of the ones that they file under. It was wrong then, it was wrong now, probably, if they were to label this. And maybe it probably is the high heels. But this giant D20, maybe that's damaging to their D&D brand. I don't know. And then there's this, of course. Um, Relentlessly Gay was what the title was. And it's the one of a small handful of products that we did where you had rules both for our in-house Rolf game system as well as game mechanics for the open game license. And this is a reference to I would not recommend it. I mean, I don't know your wife, but I don't know if that would be a good idea. I but anyhow, unless you were sort of heavily involved with the role playing game industry in the early 2000s and then into the uh, late, into the 20s, um, or the teens rather, into the well, actually the 2010s really is where this became a big thing. Um, Comic book publishers, game publishers, everyone was patting themselves on the back and making marketing hay out of the fact that, look, we are including gay characters. Look, we have turned Green Lantern gay. Aren't we? Aren't we all inclusive and stuff? And I'm watching this. Hundal's watching this because I was sneaking gay characters into TSR products in the mid 90s. And the TSR product, the very specifically, we had a code of ethics that we worked under. And one of the things in the code of ethics pretty much said no gay characters. Uh, it, I mean, it sort of went back to what I was saying earlier that you don't need to know what the characters are doing in the bedroom, but there's sort of a carve out for sexuality, and that you could not imply certain or could not portray same sex stuff. So I snuck in some same sex characters just because I thought that was silly. I didn't make a big deal out of it, well, because it was against the company policies. But when I then was on my own and publishing, and when I was writing for companies that didn't care about it, again, they showed up. I didn't make a big deal out of it. When Links, when Hundal did Rolf, there are literal rules for gay characters because one of the things Rolf was doing, uh, making fun of. Rolf was a very meta kind of game where it's as much about playing role playing games as it is a role playing game. So some of the ways it's written kind of refers to controversies, quote unquote. But this particular product was a response to a news story about someone that did a hoax claiming her neighbors were evil homophobes that had written her this nasty letter because she had a rainbow dragon in her backyard made out of mason jars or something with colored liquids in them, if I'm recalling this right. Turned out that it was a hoax. There was no there. She wrote the letter to herself to this basically make a stir, and that's where the phrase "relentlessly gay" came from. But it was also just poking fun at everybody was now marketing. There was now a marketing point to have gayness in your products. So, and we had them in the Rolf products from the get go. In fact, they're even our main products. Stars on our stars in some of our products are gay, and we just never made a big deal out of it. So it was kind of annoying to see it suddenly become something that you should pat yourself on the back over when you're making characters, writing about characters, Do whatever seems right for the character. You don't need to have tokens in there. That's my position. Been my position since I was a little kid, and it still is. Tokens are almost worse than not having them at all. So yeah, maybe this is damaging to their inclusive brand. Um, but this collects every single gay character with Rolf stats, and then a few new feats for the D20 system. And they're all engaged in a battle royale, um, because the evil villain needs somebody to help him advance the gay agenda. So he wants the most powerful gay people to do it, and so they have to fight each other. And then whoever emerges, that's the one to further the gay agenda. So yeah, very very sarcastic. Um, the rule set followed along the way that Robin Williams movie. Um, is this Mrs. Doubtfire? Oh, Birdcage. Okay, all right. Um, yeah, yeah. No, it didn't quite go in that direction, but that's not a bad idea. Now that I'm thinking about it, I have to watch that movie again. Maybe there's something to mind there. So the baseball special. Maybe that's it. Kind of got oh, I forget the artist here. Sort of got a cartoon version of Hundal here. Um, this is a product done by two people that know nothing about baseball, or very very little about baseball. Um, and this guide to baseball for Europeans that we have down here, it is 3 pages of cartoons that misinterpret everything about baseball. Um, so maybe this is what they're concerned about damaging their brand. The fact that OGL is associated with Rolf. Maybe, maybe not. Ah, a horror product. Um, every 40 years, just so you know, every 40 years the cat people return. In 19 in 1942, there was the cat people from RKO, the movie Cat People from RKO. In 1982, there was the movie Cat People from Universal. And then in 2022, there was Cat People from NUELOW Games, with a little comic by Jack Kirby and Joe Simon that basically was providing game rules for playing cat people. So you're a natural shapeshifter that turns into a cat, and you can either turn into a house cat or a big nasty leopard thing. Again, I don't see how this can be damaging to anyone's brand. And there's cover B for Cat People, with Simone Simon, who played the original cat lady in the first movie from the 40s. And I don't know. Rules for being a character who grew up in a circus is what is in here. And two comic stories, basically detective type stories, mysteries set in a circus. I think this is, I want to say this is Enoch Bull, but I could be wrong. And I'm just blanking on who did the comics. No, it's a favorite artist of mine, Bill Madden. Bill Madden illustrated the comics that are included in this. And but yeah, I don't see, unless you're scared of clowns, wouldn't damage your brand. Okay, this is maybe this is where it's bad, because maybe this is sexist. Um, Devils in Petticoats. It is all about, like it says down here, OGL modern rules for femme fatales. So women are the bad guys in this one. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's sexist. I don't know. I think there's only 2 comic stories in here, and they're essentially the same story. It's included just because we were amused by the fact that the script got recycled, and the art is different, and there are certain different twists in it. But it's basically your early 50s pre-code uh, crime short comic story. So yes, I think we finally found one that I should feel guilty about, and I need to apologize for, because it puts women in a bad light. Because I mean, there are no women murderers or con artists or thieves or anything like that, right? No such thing exists. So you can't possibly do anything with them in a game that is in theory a action movie version of the world that we're living in. So yeah, all right. And Ashina she wins the Cupid doll today because she's absolutely right. What is the difference between a female femme fatale and a female assassin? Well, there isn't really one. So if the rules in this product are horrible, then Black Widow is a terrible, terrible, terrible character and never should be in those movies. The character from Mr. and Mrs. Smith, not the 40s one, but the one with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, should never, ever, ever, ever be in a movie. And the majority of characters played by Michelle Khan. What's her real name? It's not Khan. Oh my gosh. Michelle Yao. Most characters played by Michelle Yao should never, ever, 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 ever have been put on screen. Because she isn't a bad guy, but she does beat the crap out of people and kill people. So, okay, Michelle Yao is a bad example. Well, anyhow, yes, you're right. There's absolutely nothing wrong with characters like this. So, yes, thank you for letting me stop my sarcasm. Because again, nothing to apologize for here. This is not damage their brand. Dynamic Man. It is, again, you got comics. This is a rule set where you're playing androids, because Dynamic Man is an android. And again, rules for playing androids, kind of a superhero kind of thing, using the D20 system rules. Don't see how it could damage anybody's brand. I mean, you could say you don't like the drawing, which now I'm blanking on his name. Bill Madden. Bill Madden drew this picture. I like it. I think it's a good picture. I think the topic is good and not offensive. Oh well, this might be bad. We got a lady in her nightie being wrapped up by a mummy, by an evil mummy. This was mostly horror themed comics with, Egyptian themed horror comics with, I believe, rules for giving mummies weird and unusual powers, sort of the stuff I did back in the day on Ravenloft. Maybe, offensive to Egyptians. Maybe I'm culturally appropriating here. Maybe because the lady is in a torn nightie. So maybe this is where I need to feel sorry. The Curse of Egypt, same as before. horror-themed short comic stories with, I believe this one had, this one probably shouldn't, well, no, I think it had the rules in there because I think there's D6, open D6 rules in here. Maybe for some cursed magic items, if memory serves. And that's a very good question. Are mummies cursed or undead? It depends on the mummy. And I think in this one, either we intended and ended up not doing it because we couldn't get them to work right, or they're in there, or actually rules to answer that question, whether the mummy is cursed or undead, because it matters when you're fighting them in the game, how you're going to fight them. Because if you're a cleric, now I'm going to D&D mode here, clerics can, hold the holy symbol and say, be gone, foul creature of the night. And if they're an undead, they will turn away and run away. Mummy, you got to be pretty powerful for most mummies, but if they're cursed, probably not so much. Actually, I suppose it would depend on the setting too, whether mummies are cursed or undead. Yeah, in the basic rules, the mummies are considered undead. But I think if I were to sit down and I'm just realizing we missed a major opportunity when we did the third in this series. Because there we probably should have done something with because now that I'm remembering about it or thinking about it, we ended up not doing it because it was just our conversations about it were getting too involved, and it was an entire product unto itself. And Hundal was trying to, at that point, sort of step away, and I was up to my eyeballs at that point with actually tax manuals. Oh, sorry. I'm being honest now. I was up to my eyeballs in working for the CIA. So we didn't want to start a major project like that would be. But now that I'm thinking about it, I may have to just jump on that idea and scratch down some notes because mummies really should not be undead. Or there should be two kinds of mummies. There should be kind of zombie-like mummies, and then there should be the mummies like the ones from the films. Whether it be Boris Karloff from the 30s or Odin, whatever his name is, from the Mummy. Oh wait, that wasn't him. Anyhow, I forget the actors now, but I love that Mummy movie from the was it the 90s? But yeah, there really should be. I think, and that's the discussion we had back when we were first talking about the game material for Curse, and then again when we were doing Terrors, and at both times we decided that it was entirely too big a subject. But I still have some leftover Mummy comics sitting around that we haven't used, so maybe that is a topic to revisit. Yeah, Brandon Fraser was the hero. I was trying to remember who's playing the villain, because he was a great bad guy in that one. And he was very much not an undead. I don't even know he was cursed. He was just a magic being. I'd have to watch it again to be sure. But yeah, two different kinds of mummies. And initially, the player characters wouldn't be sure what the heck they're dealing with. But again, I don't know whether this could damage someone's brand, unless you're going to say I'm culturally appropriating mummies and the Sphinx. And, well, this girl here does have your 1950s headlights, so to speak. So, and I'm forgetting the name of Feldman. I think Feldman. Al Feldman? I think he painted this cover. I'd have to go back and look at my records. I don't recall. And I have no idea who drew this cover. Oh, Bob Lubber. This is Bob Lubber. I remember now. Bob Lubber did that. And I forget this guy's name. Whatever. I forget it. So this is the most recent NUELOW Games release. It has a whole bunch of rules in it for a very particular magic item, the magic dagger, which is right here, the enchanted dagger. And that's really all that's in here. There's 4 comic stories. There is a set of rules for this one particular magic item. You got a shirtless guy. You got a guy in tights. Unless you have an issue with the bad coloring. Um, Again, I don't see how this could damage anybody's brand. Oh, maybe here we're damaging people's brand with the 3 Lives of Phantoma. This is a series of 3 books. Each of them contains stories with an old comic book character who was named Phantoma. She and this character is interesting from a historical point of view because she develops backwards. You know how usually superhero characters get stronger as they go along because writers run out of things to do, and so they have to come up with something spectacular to wow the readers and to come up with a new story. Well, in the case of Phantoma, she starts out, she is this god level being that is just destroying anything in her path. What? You're a bad guy, you're harassing the natives in the village. Okay, now you are just 5 little spinning tops, as a for example. I don't know, I'm making this up now, but she's super powerful. She's basically a goddess in when the series starts. And by a writer artist named Fletcher Hanks, who by all accounts spent most of his days just blasted out of his mind, which could explain some of the comics that he came up with. But it's interesting reading. It's very weird reading. But as the Phantoma series progresses, and okay, well, here, she's not in a lot of clothes. Maybe that's bad. But this book right here, this contains the Phantoma comics by Fletcher Hanks and a single story by something Hobius, which was a house name hiding freelancers behind it. This contains rules for playing ridiculously powerful characters. However, there is a price for being ridiculously powerful, and if you know the D&D rule set, the price is a high one. The price is whenever you're using your super powerful, outrageously over the top magic powers, you're burning character points. So yes, you can reduce that mountain to a pile of cottage cheese just by thinking about it and waving your hand, but that will cost you a buttload of experience points, and you may find yourself multiple levels lower. You may find yourself losing some abilities because, well, you no longer have those abilities because all that experience is now gone from you. And that's how we explained Phantoma. As the stories progressed, she got weaker. She seemed to forget that she had even been this godlike being to begin with. And here, there was a period in the Phantoma series where she was just your run-of-the-mill sort of jungle heroine. She had a kid sidekick. She had a pet panther. And she just wandered the jungle, fighting witch doctors, stopping evil poachers. But after the first story of her, when she met this kid, they, they're Richard Case and this Hobius, whoever was the Hobius, they didn't do anything with Phantoma's magic powers. It's like they kind of left that behind, and now they're doing a jungle series, and we're just going to pretend that she never had any powers. Which it was the 40s. That's how comics worked. You get a new creative team, and things change. Plus, somebody probably said, "Wow, that Hank stuff, that's just too crazy. I don't know what to do with that. So let's tone it down a bit." So here, Phantoma is Guardian of the Jungle. Again, I don't see how. Yeah, see, necromancers. And yeah, see, that's who she was fighting in this stage here. And she was doing mad scientists before. Then she got down
all of her magic powers had disappeared. She was now just living here in the jungle and beating, kicking the crap out of people. That's with her physical abilities. And there's one panel that sticks in my head where she's on this mountain of dead bodies with this black guy that I wish they'd done more with because he was an interesting character. He was just in one story. He should have been in more. Um, and well, that's another side story. But anyhow, they've killed just a whole bunch of bad guys, and she's got a sword and she's just whacking people with it. So, excuse me a second. But so this, we got a white savior in the jungle. Maybe that's brand damaging. I don't know, but I don't think the stories put anyone in a bad light, any culture in a bad light or anything like that. Yes, the bad guys, some of the bad guys she fought were uh, evil tribal wizards, but well, it's a fantasy comic, and you get things like that in fantasy comics. But yeah, She-Ra or Wonder Woman. Funny you should mention that because she goes through this jungle girl stage, and again, there are some more rules that build on the rules from the previous book. Now, sort of with a jungle girl flavor, and I think this one we introduced the sort of gods that were powering her abilities, or that were taking and exacting a heavy price for those abilities, which she didn't know that she was paying, because in the third incarnation of Phantoma, she was now the ruler of a lost civilization that had descended from Egyptians. And the last of where she transitioned from jungle queen to Egyptian princess, she meets a guy who's been shot in the back with an arrow in the jungle. He gives her a scroll and says, "I've been looking for you. Take this." And that's with his dying breath, and then he dies. And she traces his movement back through the jungle, finds an outfit that seems strangely familiar to her, and then she rediscovers her true heritage, gets her memories back, that she had been sent, she had been granted those superpowers and sent into the jungle to be hidden from those who would have killed her to steal the kingdom. But now she's back. She gets an army together. She takes out schemers, and that then the rest of the Phantoma stories has her ruling this lost kingdom. And still, she has no magic powers at this point. She is, or if she has them, she's not using them. There's one sort of hint of it, which I think was just the writer being sloppy. Um, that she knows a little bit of magic, or about magic at least, but never does anything like she did in the first set of stories. And where you get you an outfit like that? Actually, they have them around Halloween, I believe. And this is another cover by Brad McDivitt. Um, and so yeah, maybe this is where since she's in high heels and everything, but this actually it's a little more skin than she actually shows in the comics, but still it's pretty true to what's actually in the book. But so here we just round out the rules that you can play a character that starts powerful and gets weaker as time goes by rather than the other way around. Or you can choose. I mean, you have outrageously over the top magic powers that you can just blow everything away in your path, but you pay a price. So maybe that rule concept is one that damages the wizard brand because uh, there's a price for power. maybe that's not suitable for a fantasy RPG. Maybe the fact that um, it's about the appropriate amount of skin should be more acceptable. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I kind of agree with you. It seems to me that the pendulum has swung over in a too far over in a ridiculous direction. I would agree with you. And Dave, not going to comment because you get in trouble no matter what. Okay, but yeah, so yeah, she's kind of skimpily clad. She's standing in a and oh my God, there's blood. Can we show blood? Oh no, I don't know. Then there's a skull, so the Chinese would be upset. Well, yeah, don't take Phantom out of China because the character is her face is a skull when she's using her ridiculous powers. But anyhow, these so this the Three Lives of Phantoma basically has a character that goes from super powerful to just intelligent and skilled, which is an unusual progression for a comic book character and even a character in fiction. So this is what sort of appealed to me as a game designer and a publisher as we put this series of books together. So yeah, the Phantoma trilogy, that's another one of the favorites of mine from the NUELOW Games. Fairy tales, as the title implies, this is uh, short stories, fairy tale inspired horror comics. There's a vampire take on Cinderella. There's a Rumpelstiltskin take off. What else we have in here? Um, Several comics, many of them done by Steve Ditko. The rules in here are adapting some creatures from one of the stories into the D20 system. So again, nothing that would damage the brand. I don't see what. Well, Professor Fiend. Oh, actually, hang on. Let me catch up here. I mean, it's clearly a plate mail bikini with a chainmail skirt. Should be hard to find. Yeah. And just tell them a war was never won. Yeah, a war was never won with a clean blade. That is absolutely true. Um, Professor Fiend. I do not remember what the game content in this thing is. I know that the Rolf scenario in here has, well, it's very dated. This was released in 2016, yeah. So, as the presidential campaign was getting hot and um, everybody was laughing about Donald Trump, we did some game stats for him, and we did an adventure scenario where Professor Fiend, who is a mad scientist. These are just this is a comic series making that basically is intentionally goofy and silly and very dumb. And yes, he does conduct experiments upon himself. That is exactly what he does. That's what Professor Fiend. He makes weird inventions, and sometimes he tests them on himself. Sometimes he tricks people into letting him test them on him. But in the adventure included in here, um, he wanted uh, he wanted to get at Donald Trump's hair because that was some mysterious substance that he wanted to study. And so him and Don, there's stats for Professor Fiend, there's stats for Donald Trump, and they have to fight. That's the adventure in the product, the Rolf scenario. And I think the D20 system rules were probably they weren't mechanics for some of Dr. Fiend's adventures. They were mechanics for making weird science, but I don't recall. Now, where this could be damaging, there there is a string of stories where the professor is trying to kill himself and doing a bad job at it because well he's trying to use his inventions and they're saving him, or he has a prop gun that doesn't know it's a prop gun, and all kinds of things go wrong. So Once again, we got suicidal ideation here. Maybe that's brand damaging. I don't know. But we did put a little disclaimer in there, so I don't know. Ghost Woman, I forget who the artist is, but this has D20 system mechanics with for your character dies, which happens, but in this case the character dies, but the ghost sticks around. So you can continue playing your character as a ghost if you choose and the DM allows it. And I believe this also was the first place we put in rules where we filed off the serial numbers from Dead Man, if you remember, anyone remembers that DC character, or just possession. So you are a dead player character, but you can possess people, you can affect things. And this, I believe, also has rules for the more traditional werewolves, where they are undead um, instead of cursed. But I don't remember if we actually did that or not, because the focus was on the ghost woman of the title. Again, well, unless we're talking about China and bones and skulls, nothing. All right, well, here we go. This is glorifying. So, gonna be me when my time comes. Be prepared. Yeah. You'll be the ghost woman. Yeah, it's kind of too bad because the one story ends with her finishing her mission she was on, and then moving, going, ascending basically because her job was done. But there could have been more done with that character. So Gunmaster, this is this is a series about a secret society that was formed essentially the day gunpowder was invented. Um, because the first time gunpowder was for evil, really. So they formed the secret society to use gunpowder for good. They train in using guns, and Gunmaster is sort of the top gunfighter, top gun shooter, uh, top gun master. I mean, it's martial arts with guns essentially, and that's what the rules we have in here are. They are just rules, so your character is much better with firearms. So unless we are going to say that guns are bad and you can't have guns in role-playing games and uh, you can't glorify characters that use guns, they can't be the heroes, even though it's very clearly, I mean, the stereotype good guy with a gun, I mean, that's what this basically is all about, because that's what the secret society is all about. It's all about being good guys with a gun. And there, yeah, a list of people you'd possess once you are a ghost. um, this actually is another. Gunmaster is one that we had a sequel planned to that is stalled, like so many other NUELOW Games projects. Uh, Jack Kirby took over the Gunmaster series, and he put it in a slightly different direction. He got rid of the secret society by ignoring it, basically. So there was no longer the mystics assigning missions to the Gunmaster. He was just finding bad guys on his own. And they added a female foil to the series that was sort of his nemesis, which was interesting. But I forget why the second Gunmaster book was never finished. But it's one of the things to get back to someday. Again, I don't see where this is saying anything bad about anything Wizards is doing. And I've been doing this for 2 hours now. I'm surprised that anyone is still around. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Why am I pinning messages? What's happening? How am I doing that? I don't know how I'm doing that. Immortal Tales. These are stories all illustrated by Steve Ditko. They are stories about characters who are immortal through one mean or another, who become immortal through one means or another. And sometimes they are happy with their immortality, sometimes they are not. And the rules in this set are for how characters can gain immortality. We already did that in Secret of the Immortals. We did one way of doing it. This is ways of magical means or Shangri-La kind of places. Uh, Basically, each little game section in this particular book is inspired by one of the comics and loosely based on the material there. Like, for example, one of the stories is an alchemist trying to invent an immortality potion, and his apprentice is bitter, and he takes and he drinks it, and so there are now rules as to there are rules in there for immortality potions. And what is going on here? Uh, all right, let me see if I can clear this by. So one of the sets in there are rules for immortality potions, and I can't see what's going on. Okay. All right. Can you banish immortal characters? Um. Well, you can banish the restless ghosts, but the immortal characters. Oh well, no, no, you cannot banish the immortal characters. They are just people that don't age and don't die. Um, well, sometimes you can just kill them, but other times they will regenerate, depending on the type of immortality that you have. Like the guy with the potion. Um, Although his curse is uh, but anyhow, again, unless you're going to say, well, Steve Ditko, he was a big fan of Ayn Rand, and therefore he's just bad and evil, and you can't put his stories back out there, and you certainly can't be inspired by them. Maybe that's some damage to the brand. Well, here's a naked chick. Maybe that's bad. Um, these rules had this particular set has this creature here, game mechanics for this creature, and I forget what else is in here. But Matt Baker, first celebrity African American comic book artist, so that's inclusive. How do you combat an immortal character? Well, that would depend on the immortal character. In that immortal tales, some of them you can just shoot and they'll be dead because their immortality is they're just aging slowly. Um, Others, you you can't. I mean, you can fight them, but they're gonna get right back up. There's one such character in those stories that's that powerful. He cannot be killed, even though he would like to be. Um, and there is one. I forget where we did this. I think it was just on the blog. Um, One immortal character, or maybe we ended up putting the rules in here, or maybe in Love Witch, wherever. If you have an immortal character that you can't be killed because they'll just regenerate, well, then you just bury them under a ton of rock and or pin them to the ground with a spear, and they can just lay there buried, regenerating and being they're crushed over and over. That would be a horrible, horrible state to be in. And why did we do that? It was based on a really bad story, and then we wrote an end to it. Well, I wrote an end to it. Um, that was different. God, I'll have to go looking through things. And yeah, that is the Stan Lee. Not that I hired him for anything. This is a story he did with Ditko back in, I think, I want to say 61, maybe 62. It was it's one of these. Let's see. He did the one with the guy. Yeah, he wrote a script for a story. There was a guy that I think he drinks something or it gets zapped by something that slows his aging down. So he basically lives for 1,000 years and gets to see people abandon Earth, and he stays behind, and then realizes that he's starting to age again very slowly. Oh look now, and there's a woman that stayed behind as well. So oh look, they're Adam and Eve basically. Uh, but let's see. Yeah, that's basically some immortals. You'd have to do that too. And actually, the immortals and secrets of the immortals, those guys you can kill over and over, and they just regenerate like a time lord. And you don't want to be around when they do, because they literally, like a phoenix, they rise like a phoenix. So energy shoots everywhere as they're regenerating, and you will be hurt if you're nearby. And did I know Gary who wrote Ghost Rider? That's Gary Friedrich. No, I did not. Um, I've heard he was an interesting guy when he was younger. I don't know. Uh, had some rough times later on from what I hear from other people, but no, I did not know him at all. Um, so yeah, maybe the naked chick is ruining the brand. This right here, Black Cat, shows you how to do voodoo tricks, judo tricks. It's a bunch of one-page cartoons about judo moves, and this has open D6 rules in it. So even if Wizards, for some obscure reason, thought this damaged their brand, there's no way it could, because it's not even their rules. And this is more Jungle Girls. And again, we've got Matt Baker, the first celebrity black comic artist from the 40s. And Judy, I think Judy would be a character that, despite this one attracted my attention initially because the title is just hilarious to me, Judy of the Jungle. Um, but Judy of the Jungle Judy is a fiercely independent woman who actually, in the initial couple of stories, is a very loud, very overt man hater, because her father was an asshole and he was killed by assholes, and so therefore she thinks all men are assholes, and she's going to kick the snot out of them, basically. So this really have oh, and her outfit is sort of a, I don't know where you find a little black dress in the jungle, but this character wears a little black dress. Her dad made her wear it or something. I don't know, but so this has got to score high on the inclusivity table. This particular book here, and the game rules are just rules for playing jungle characters. More of those. And here's Judy again. Oh, the cover. I forget who drew this cover. I think it's Ralph Mayo, although no, it's not Ralph Mayo. He did the main story, but someone else did this. I don't know who. Um, and I forget this guy's name. Alex Schomburg. Alex Schomburg did this, and I guess we got a lot of skin. We got little black dress here. So maybe I should be embarrassed about this. Uh, but, not supermodelish in the proportions. Oh, there's a swastika on here. We mentioned Satan on the title, Lady Satan, 1944. Speaking of assassins, this is a femme fatale who starts out killing Nazis because they sunk the ship with her fiance on it. She was the only survivor, so she's now taking revenge on Nazis by seducing them and then killing them. Uh, and she does that for a couple of stories, and then another writer gets a hold of her, and suddenly she has magic powers. There was no explanation in the original stories where those magic powers came from. Some writer just must have said, and some editor, well, it's Lady Satan. She must be a witch. Let's give her powers. And so they gave her powers. And who knew why? Well, we explain why. I explain why. This book has a short story in it that fills in the gap between Lady Satan, the femme fatale Nazi hunter with no magic powers, to Lady Satan, the spellcaster who can take on werewolves with her magic spells and kill them. And this particular cover, it was originally a photo, and it's been run through some. The lady's been run through a couple of filters, and Lady Satan wore a domino mask, which is why we got her holding one here. But Lady Satan, 1944. I don't even remember what rules are in here. What rules material in here? Oh, yes. It is some feats and mechanics for making deals with extra dimensional beings. So it's basically what I think ended up in 5th edition D&D, that kind of spellcaster that makes a deal with the devil or some other beings to gain magic powers, because that's what Lady Satan does in the short story. So I'm pretty sure the game mechanics in here would relate to that. But again, maybe this damages the brand. In fact, when I did this, I was warned that some European countries would have problems with this, and I said, okay, whatever. There's Nazis in the book. She's fighting Nazis. The Nazi flag. This is fire. It's burning. That's the idea here. So, no, we're not celebrating Nazis. Lady Satan, 1974. The first comic series starring a black character, horror comic series starring a black character, is basically about a woman who finds herself possessed by an evil witch. And the evil witch wants to be Satan's mistress and is trying to summon Satan and also get impregnated by him, while our poor heroine is trying to not get herself impregnated by Satan because of the evil spirit in her body. And that's the story here, and it ends badly for everybody involved. Well, it ends on a cliffhanger because originally published by a company called Skywall, they went out of business, and the Lady Satan story, it's kind of finished, but it's finished in a way that makes it look like the evil spirit has taken over poor Alice completely. The rules in here are about someone playing somebody that's trying to that has two spirits in them and is fighting against the evil inside and trying to keep the evil at bay, trying to remain in control of themselves. So I suppose if you want to say that, that's making light of demonic possession or mental illness or whatever, I suppose you could say this damages the brand, but you're fighting forces, supernatural forces. Okay, the supernatural force is inside you. How is that different than the vampire that's outside you? I don't see it. I don't see how I'm damaging anything. Lady Satan, 2004. A poor blind lady that ends up in the middle of some satanic rituals, and things go badly. That's the single comic story in this book. And again, you can see, oh, I forget who drew this cover, but Pablo Marcos did the art, as Ricardo Villamonte, Alan Hewitson. And you can see famous people here. No, I didn't hire them. This is a story that wasn't public domain, so I was able to take it and use it. Marv Wolfman, Ross Andrew, uh, Ross Esposito, and then me. I did the game material and I edited it. And actually, I think I did some rewrites or some rearranging of some of the panels because the story didn't flow. Um, but yeah, I think this again. These are the rules here. I think are for playing people that you have a basically you got a demon in the woodpile. You got a demonic heritage that you are having to deal with. So it's an adventure generator basically. Again, if somebody can tell me how any of this is damaging brands, I'd love to hear it. Whether you are watching this now, if you're 2 hours in, 2.5 hours in, I'm impressed. I'm still impressed with the people that are still hanging out. Um, Herbert West, Reanimator, H.P. Lovecraft. All of the Reanimator stories in one spot. Again, this is nothing that hasn't been done before. Um, but the fun thing is, are the rules for Reanimator style zombies or Reanimator style undead, whether you are taking him from the movies, and if you like gory movies that are funny at the same time, you need to watch uh, the Reanimator films. Um, at least the first three. I think they're called Reanimator, Bride of the Reanimator, and Reanimator Rising. I don't know. He's in prison in the last one. Herbert West is. I'll have to. It's on the shelf behind me. Go get it if somebody really wants to know. But this one has, again, I think some really good rules. If you want to have Reanimator style undead in your setting, or if you want the characters to come upon the recipe for making uh, the reanimation, uh, the reagent. Sorry, it's called the reagent. If you want them to find the reagent, or maybe stop somebody from crop dusting the reagent all across cemeteries in the state. Oh, that would be one hell of an adventure. Now I'm thinking about it. Um, this would be the product for you. Now, H.P. Lovecraft. You're not supposed to like H.P. Lovecraft anymore. H.P. Lovecraft is a racist and a sexist and was just horrible, horrible, horrible. Therefore, his stories cannot be read. They cannot be acknowledged. It's wrong, wrong, wrong to do it. So that's probably damaging to Wizards brand right there that we did something with H.P. Lovecraft and then put open gaming content in there. So I should probably do some soul searching about this one. And Love Witch, again, another Wolfman series. This is straight up 1970s fantasy. Uh, Women in very little clothing. Heck, some of the men in very little clothing. Set in ancient Atlantis. You've got the Love Witch squaring off against her enemies, the Druids, and it ends badly for all, except the Love Witch ends up finding herself in modern day, and that's where our game rules come into play and our setup. Basically this book is a campaign setup more as much as anything else, with the game rules in here. And it has another new magic system if you're playing D&D or D20 style games. So again, there's a skull that's bad in China. There's, a woman with her butt crack out. I guess that's all sexist and horrible. The comics inside are sexist and horrible. There might even be a few boobs that you can see. So, um, I'm sorry, guys. Too much butt cracks. Now you're just ruining the brand. Yeah, yeah. I guess I can see that. And these guys with horns, what are they? Are they ogres? Oh wait, actually, I had not noticed this butt crack. So at least it's not sexist, because presumably this is some sort of male over here, based on the musculature. And so we got his butt crack and we got her butt crack. So equal opportunity crackage. But I should still feel appalled at just presenting something that has 1970s style fantasy art in it. It was wrong then and it is wrong now, right? Yes, exactly. Exactly. At least it's not sexist. You are absolutely correct. I'm glad you understand. Madden's Boys, comics featuring teenage superheroes, by Bill Madden, as it says on the title there. Uh, I think this cover is by Scott Miller. No relation, but I think he did this cover. Or maybe it's Jeff Miller. It's something Miller. And the game rules in this one are basically a very simple, very stripped down rule system for superheroes that you can lay over D20 Modern without any problem whatsoever. It basically it it hits the sort of major superpowers, speed, invulnerability, super strength, flying, and then we expand on those rules in many, 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 many other products. In fact, this here was one of the first comic/game hybrid books that we did, and it's got rules for Rolf. It's got rules for D20. And then it had rules for, I believe Scott Casper provided a section for his game system, which I'm forgetting what it's called right now. It's in its second edition now. So yeah, go on Facebook, look up Scott Casper, find his if you want like superheroes, find his game. Master Key. Maybe this one, the guy's weird origin, maybe that's what will ruin Wizard's brand. Or maybe the fact that this name doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, the Master Key, one day he's visiting an astronomer friend and he's looking through the telescope, and some alien ray shoots through the telescope, hits him in the eye, and now he has a magic super eye, or a super powered eye that can do things. It can make people drop things. It can see through walls sometimes. It can do all kinds of stuff. And the rules in this particular product basically let your character have magic eyes. I suppose blind people could feel excluded by this. It's not it's not it's not there's no, well, it's not diverse in its inclusionary diversiveness or something, because it has to do with eyes, and blind people couldn't be a character like this. So I'm excluding blind people with this rule set. Could that be it? I don't know. No, I'm just gonna stop myself there, because that's not even funny. That's just stupid, is what that is. There's nothing here that is brand damaging in this book at all. Unless you're going to say, oh my God, it's all white people on the cover. But then you could counter, well, these guys are Italians. And then it's, well, you're stereotyping Italians as gangsters. Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing here. Mystic Moot and his Magic Snoot. This cover is by Stan. And oh, I didn't mention the cover on Master Key because I'm blanking on the artist's name. But this is by Stan. This is by a friend of mine. The comics are by Basil Wolverton, and they are, as the cover might imply, they're kind of playful stories about a guy who he channels magic through his nose. Hence for God's sakes, why is it doing this? Can I close this out maybe? I'm sorry. Basically what happens is I suddenly can't see the chat window, and it's giving me this notice that I don't really give a rat's ass about, but I can't make it go away. So let me do this so I can scroll up. There we go. Now you have sensory deprived characters. Actually, rules for those have existed for a very long time. They had them as far back as a game called Top Secret SI, and I'm pretty sure they were in the one of the iterations of, if not the Marvel superheroes game, then the Mayfair DC. So yes, they do exist. I will admit I haven't done anything with any sort of mechanics like that. Um, Partly because, all right, maybe it's because I like the escapism of games. I like being somebody I'm not. So I don't quite understand the mindset that says that we need representation in our games. We need a blind person in there so the blind gamer can feel accepted and can see himself in these characters. We need a character that is wheelchair bound, so the person that has lost the use of their legs or has never been able to use their legs can see themselves in this character. I If I were to play myself in a role playing game, it would be a very boring role playing game. I mean, jokes about being a CIA interrogator aside, my life just isn't that interesting. I don't fight aliens. I don't, you know, put down demonic spirits. I don't hunt down yakuza. I don't do any of these things. So, and plus, why would I want to play somebody that I've got really bad allergies? I'm allergic to anything you care to mention. I'm probably allergic to it, as far as plant pollen and mold and fungus. I'm allergic to all kinds of food additives. Um, why would I want to play that in a game? Why would I even think that it was necessary to have, oh, there needs to be rules for characters that get horrible headaches and break out in rashes if they eat certain kinds of food with certain kinds of preservatives in them. No, it's why. And Mystic Moot here, he comes from a faraway land. He's got a turban, and he's clearly some sort of Eastern mystic character is what he's trying to be, or what the model is. Uh, I've lost my train of thought now but anyhow, I'm sorry, uh, Alxenia, going off on that rant if I confused confused you. But I just don't. I just don't under. I don't. I can't wrap my mind around the concept of you must include representation of this and that and everything in the game settings and in the game systems. I mean, I don't know if maybe I'll make a post on the community page. If maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I'll just make people mad. But I am now finding myself being genuinely curious because I've always just said that's silly. Now maybe it's not silly. Oh yeah, no. I know you weren't saying that I should. I was just wondering if you saying it already, and then I was just trying to interpret the response. If it was my ranting about uh, not understanding the push for that and the celebration of it. Um, I mean, there was that miniature with a combat wheelchair, whatever they were calling it, um, and it was celebrated as some important milestone. And I looked at it and I went, okay, I can see problems that this guy in this wheelchair will have. And I'm saying this as someone that really enjoyed the 1970s Tomb of Dracula comics that had the blind, or, well, his eyes were damaged, but his eyes were damaged and he couldn't walk and he was in a wheelchair that had all kinds of it. It fired wooden stakes and it had all kinds of abilities in the wheelchair. But even that acknowledge that, well, there's such a thing as stairs, there's such a thing as getting up ramps, there's such a thing as you can't get into places if you're in a wheelchair. That is just sad reality. Same thing if you're in a character in a role-playing game. The character in the wheelchair, he's limited in there are things that he won't be able to do. And of course, in the D&D setting, there's a further question: why aren't they just taking a healing potion to the guy and fix his legs? Why aren't they taking a magic spell to the guy and fix his legs? Why aren't they doing any number of things and fix his legs? Or, yep, just levitate the thing. I mean, then he could still be sitting in the chair, but so is that the kind of escapism that they're looking at when you still have the character in the wheelchair, but you're in the wheelchair and you now can fly around in it? Because maybe that's it. I the worst I've had have been broken legs, broken arms, and there's always been time where I knew I was going to heal. So I will admit I probably can't relate, but I don't know. I just can't help but ask, if you are the guy who's in the wheelchair, why would you want to make a character who is in a wheelchair? Unless you're playing this other game that uh, uh, LL Hundal did based on the Rolf rules, which was called You versus Me, where it's a two-player game. Each player makes a character based on the other player. Then you swap characters. So if I'm with Alshenia, she makes a character based on me. I make a character based on her, and then she gives me the character that she made about that she thinks I'm like, and I give her my character, and then those characters fight each other until one is unconscious or dead or runs away or something. And hopefully, we're still friends at the end. But yeah, it's a weird little game. But that's the only game I can think of offhand where, well, no, there's another one. Greg Porter did a game where you essentially you're making yourself as a character, and then you time travel. I think that was Greg Porter's game that did that. I forget what it was called though. I'd have to dig it out of my shelves back there. In Abbott, okay, let's see. Oh, there's all kinds of characters. In Avatar: The Last Airbender, Toph was blind, but she was the best Earthbender in the entire show. She would even bend metal. Right. I mean, having some sort of disability does not mean that the character isn't fantastic and isn't, you know, has all kinds of power. Um, I'm I'm just wondering if I, as a player, would I really would I want to make a character that is basically me? Uh, well, you can ask people that I game with, and they'll tell you that every character I play when I'm a player is like a very nasty version of me. Um, so maybe I do make characters that are me, but they're not allergic to. Well, I'm not allergic to dandelions, so maybe I'll make a character that's allergic to dandelions. Um, yeah, I actually admit I'm aware of the Avatar and the Last Airbender stuff, but I've never seen any of the cartoons. They're anime, right? And then a couple live action films, I think, if I recall right. Oh, you wouldn't you don't know how. And actually, I've kind of have caught myself that I think sometimes frustrations of the day do end up creeping into the characters, and um, they're because they can be they can be meaner than I can be in real life. Let's see, Mother Hubbard. Again, unless you think they're discriminating against magic gnomes, there's nothing there that would be damaging the brand. Well, that's a repeat. How the hell did that happen? Oh, look, the logo for NUELOW Games. There's some stray things in this folder. Angela, some girl comics, literally girl comics. They're not romance comics. They are humor comics featuring a girl character and her friends. And if you look at this, here's an interesting little tidbit for anyone that is still out there. This actually is representation. And same thing in the stories. You see here, you got the girl with glasses and kind of the teeth. You got a girl who's a little bit chubby. Um, and then you got, the cool girls are the ones that are kind of sitting there worshiping Angela, and these are her friends up here, the sort of not perfect looking people. So again, I don't think I'm damaging the brand. And the game material in this thing actually involves playing clones. Since this series, Golden Age Oddballs, we took the complete run of characters that didn't have much of a life in the comics. I think Angela had 4 stories, and Miss Espionage had 1 or 2. And we made Miss Espionage Angela's mother, and mother, since they are clones, and they are clones of Matahari in the setup that we had. So basically, these are rules for playing characters that are clones and that are trying to find their find them find themselves, I guess, or find their place, or perhaps find the template. Golden Age Oddballs, Fireman, game rules for playing characters that have fire powers. Uh-oh, another swastika. Kismet Man of Fate. This actually, again, don't see how it's brand damaging or non-inclusive, because this guy right here, the shirtless wonder here with the fez, he is a Muslim superhero, and he is a Muslim superhero who is fighting Nazis. So again, not exclusionary, not brand damaging. Well, patriotic superheroes. Maybe that's a problem. Can you have patriotic superheroes anymore? And the rules that are in here actually are for couple of rules for playing characters whose powers are drawn from protecting their national group or their ethnic group, and then rules for transforming characters. Since Yankee Girl here, she has some sort of magic phrase she utters, and she turns into Yankee Girl. Um, and then there's different levels of that. You can either just say the magic word and your costume appears on you. You say the magic word and you costume and your body changes. You say the magic word and you're an entirely different being, sort of like Captain Marvel or well Yankee Girl. And once again, I can't see the frickin'. Maybe this is what's doing it. Can I get rid of this? No, I cannot get rid of that. So let's do this again so I can see what's going on. Captain America. Yeah, Captain America, though, I think he's inspired by can you still have patriotic superheroes? Yeah, I guess Captain America is a recent thing. As far as the movies, and they haven't sort of torn him down, not in the movies at least. In the comics a few years ago, though, they did something, near as I could tell, damn stupid. I did not look at him, so maybe it wasn't as bad as it seemed. But Captain America was a secret Nazi all along, apparently, or a secret Hydra agent, which is the same thing as being a Nazi. So, oh look, OGL. Speaking of patriotic superheroes, here's Peacemaker. He's not really patriotic, but he's a guy that I think the catchphrase was he loves peace so much he's willing to fight for it. In fact, he will impose peace on you if you don't stop fighting. He'll stop you. And this book just has game rules for Peacemaker's equipment. And I don't know if anyone you would notice, but this is there was a recent television series based on this particular character. So again, I don't see how I'm damaging anyone's brand. And since I've gotten this question, I'll just go ahead and answer it now in case someone gets this far into the stream. 3 hours. I don't think I've ever streamed this long before, and I probably should start trying to wrap it up pretty soon here, but I've still got a few more covers to go, and I still haven't found anything that I feel like I need to atone for. Peacemaker. Peacemaker is not going to get me sued. I did not need DC's permission to do this Peacemaker book or the second Peacemaker book that, much like the second Gunmaster book, is stalled in development hell, because the original Peacemaker stories are in the public domain. And much like 90% of the comics that NUELOW republishes are in the public domain. And those that aren't, we have made arrangements with the owners to use. But this, no, I do not have DC's permission. I do not need DC's permission or Warner's permission or anyone's permission to produce this particular product. I don't even need Wizards' permission to produce this particular product, so long as I am adhering to the open game license terms, which I do. So nothing to atone for here. Princess Pantha, she's an animal trainer. Which one are you commenting on? Oh, this one? More skin. How will you ever fit in if you don't objectify your characters? Isn't that a golden rule somewhere? Yeah, it might be, but um, in fact, it's pendulum is kind of swung in the other direction on that one. Um, at least if you talk to Wizards of the Coast, unless it's now swinging back the other way, where it's now okay to um, have characters with some shape to them. But Princess Panther here, she's an animal trainer in a circus who went looking for some mythical gorilla and got stranded in the jungle and ended up having to be rescued or having to be located rather. So maybe the fact she's an animal trainer and working in a circus, maybe that's something that the fact I'm reprojecting these stories. That's actually every single one of these comics that I've that I've put out. It's because, especially the ones that the character's name is in the title. They're really cool characters. They're really neat stories, and it's a shame that they've fallen into complete obscurity in my mind. And that is why I put these together and why I put them out. And Hundal was great help, and Hundal agreed with that philosophy too. I think Princess Panther might have been one of her discoveries. No, maybe not. I don't know. Can't remember. But this is the drawing on this here is by Art Saf, and the comics were by Ralph Mayo and Art Saf in this volume. And I believe all that has here were just game stats for the characters or some random adventure generating tables or plot generating tables. And more skin actually. We did some clip art packs where we adapted comic panels and such into just art you could use in whatever projects you wanted to. And a picture like this, if we were to have adapted that into that package and make it black and white, I am going to assume that we probably would have redrawn part of this hip here. So this the shorts were shorter, and maybe even here would have done something up here to basically expose more skin. We have done that in a number of those art packs, but not so much in the comics and on the covers. And there's this second Princess Panther book with another Alex Schomburg cover. Again, I don't see what's going to be brand damaging about that. Well, maybe she's stabbing a tiger, but she's rescuing this guy who the tiger was killing. So we got a girl saving the guy. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do now, right? In all the fiction, women are powerful. Women don't need men, and that's actually a thing about the character of Panther. Um, she she's her own person. She doesn't need anybody. Um, yeah. Princess Patha riding a tiger and wearing a leopard print. That's 3 levels of wrong. Yeah, actually, there's a number of times when we've been going through these comics. Um, I think Rula was one of them, where she's in Africa, but she kills some animal and wears the skin, and it's like a tiger that they're not in Africa. So what the hell was she doing killing a tiger in Africa? And the thing about this, actually, it's kind of funny in the sense that, well, the leopards. Where do you get leopards? Well, at any rate, this outfit actually and this is just a comic thing because I don't see why she would keep wearing this. In the first stories, she's in the jungle. She's stuck out in the jungle because her safari has been destroyed and she's kind of lost out there. And as always happens, people's clothes get torn, and she's got to do something to not run around naked. So she makes this thing out of leopard skin, and if there aren't leopards in Africa, then this is another, which I don't recall whether there are or not. This is another one of those where it should be funny because it's the wrong animal, but I don't remember it right now. But I do remember that this outfit came from wherever the first stories took place, and they're actually in either Sumatra or India. I forget exactly where, but I think it's Sumatra actually. So this tiger makes perfect sense, um, and this outfit makes sense as might make sense as well if I could remember where panthers come from, or leopards come from rather. Uh, but again, this should be brand enhancing, not brand damaging, because the lady's saving the guy, riding the tiger aside. The original question, again, unless we're supposed to hate Ayn Rand and by extension hate Steve Ditko, then a character that spouts, okay, leopards are all over Africa. So the Princess Panther stories, they got it right because she was in Africa. She kills at Africa, kills a leopard, wears its skin until she gets rescued and goes back, or gets found, because the guy that comes to rescue her, he doesn't really so much rescue her as he finds her in the jungle and she's actually doing perfectly fine, which is another nice thing about that character. Like I said, she really doesn't need anybody, um, except, I mean, nobody nobody can just be a single individual and never need somebody else. So she's lost in the jungle. She need help in that respect, but she didn't need to get rescued per se, not in the sense of a damsel in distress rescue. But original question again, I did not need DC's permission for this, and unless you're going to be someone who is freaking out over objectivism, what? No brand damage here, so no reason to disavow. Weird romance. It actually, there's no open gaming content in this that Wizards could have any control over. The only reason that this is even on the list and even has the thing in the back is we decided we would open up, just there's some random plot generators in here, and since I enjoy doing those and Handal enjoyed doing those, we just made the one in the one that's included in this one, which basically these are kind of romance themed horror stories in this one. The cover is by Basil Wolverton, but the random plot generators, we just put them in under the open game license, so anyone could use them anywhere if they wanted to. No real reason, just we wanted to be part of the community, wanted to be generous. Science sleuths. Speaking of the thing I was talking about earlier about gay characters, Jill Trent and her sidekick, Daisy, Daisy Smythe, I think, Daisy Smythe. We pretty much retconned them into being live-in girlfriends, and in the 1940s, that's not something that you did easily. So they're very much under the radar. Um, but it's something that's in the fiction, and there is a story that's 4/5 done. I'm just not happy with the ending, so I need to get it finished. Um, where actually the character's relationship comes into play more than it does anywhere else. But this is one of those where we retconned a relationship between the characters that was probably unintended by the creators, And we didn't say, praise us for us, pat us on the back. Look at us. We're being all virtuous. No, we just did it because it felt right for the characters. So again, this is open gaming content. The stats for the characters, Jill Trent's inventions are given D20 stats, and they're non-binary lovers. So what is there that's damaging the brand here? Nothing. In fact, it enhances the brand based on Wizards' own standards of inclusivity. More Jill Trent, same thing once more, same as before. And again, Jill Trent is one of those characters that, one of those woman characters, which is kind of odd given the fact 40s was all sexist and stuff, but we have these female characters that were just beating the living crap out of men, literally. And I actually don't know who drew. Well, that's a photo, so. Uh, but based on the hair, it's probably the same girl that was the OGL drunkard on the in the other picture. And I don't know who that artist is. There's no signature. And I seem to recall it coming off an issue of Key Comics, which means the artist was anonymous, and so who knows. This is Will Eisner. This is Space Hawk, Lone Wolf of the Void, again, science fiction comics. The rules are for flying spaceships and being characters active in space. Again, nothing brand damaging I can think of. Stardust, the Super Wizard. We made a mistake here. We actually used D20 system rules instead of compatible. Oopsie. But this is an outrageously powerful character, much like Phantoma by the same guy, Fletcher Hanks. This is one of my favorites. It's almost too bad I'm getting to this so late in the stream when probably no one's going to get this deep in. But this has some really great source material in it for it's Stardust's secret headquarters. Gets described in here, gets a map, gets a little bit of it, gets a description. Lots of adventure hooks are included. We detail all the weird science that shows up in these stories in this book. I was just very proud of this when we did it, and I worked harder on this than most of the NUELOW projects because I was so enamored with the concepts. And we put this out, and it just sank like a rock. Nobody purchased it when it first came out. Well, again, 3, 4, 5 copies sold, and that was it. So we had a second volume we were going to do, and that second volume was just abandoned. Hell, we even had the cover made for it, and about half the stories we'd gotten done processing and cleaning up for inclusion, and then we released this, and it did nothing. So again, I don't think it would damage Wizards brand, but it did do a little bit to damage some of the excitement that Handal and I had for these comics anthologies. But what really slowed NUELOW Games down was just reality and the fact that this doesn't make money, and we needed to make money. And speaking of Warrior Maiden Starlight, which I did earlier, here is a cover for Warrior Maiden Starlight. Again, it's a comic about a young woman who is fighting against her culture's gender stereotypes and basically doesn't take crap from anybody. And I think there is one story where she has to get rescued, quote unquote, by a guy, but she's either solving her own problems or she's doing the rescuing in most of them. In all of them, other than the one, if I'm remembering correctly. It's been years. And Starlight was kind of Handal's project. But unless you're going to scream cultural appropriation, not Nothing here to damage any brands. Alex Schomburg cover. Oh, and this is Ralph Mayo. The art here. It's a collage of items taken from various panels and splash pages of the Starlight comics. Alex Schomburg again. Tara, Marauder of the Space Lanes. A young woman ends up in charge of a pirate ship, and they are fighting against a corrupt government. Again, the rules here, they are basically game rules for this science fiction weaponry here. Tara's weapons of choice, I think, is what the article is called. So we got a kind of a laser zapper sword or something here, and they actually have lightsabers in this comic, or weapons very much like lightsabers. Years before Star Wars was a thing, so they're not called lightsabers, but I seem to recall them having them. So once again, we've got a heroic female fighting against evil. What is the damage to the brand? I don't see it. I am looking for something that I should feel guilty about, and I'm not finding it. The Unholy Three, group of con artists doing con artist stuff. There's 2 stories by Bill Madden featuring them, and then there's role-playing game rules for playing tricky kind of characters. So rogues, basically. And unless they're going to get rid of characters who cheat and lie and steal in the new edition of D&D, this doesn't damage their brand. Volton, sorry. Superhero that, as the name implies, Volton or Volt on. Electrical powers. Again, and it's rules for playing characters with electrical powers, superhero powers. No damage to anyone's brand that I can think of. He electrocutes people. He beats the snot out of people, but that's what superheroes do. Wildfire. We got skin. Maybe that's a problem. But this is a girl with fire powers. The Lord of Fire was burning down the forest that she was in with her parents. And her parents die in the fire. She's about to die in the fire, except until this powerful god notices that she's not dying in the fire. What the hell? Fast forward 15 or so years, and she's 18, and she is now a superhero fighting crime and evil with fire. And the rules in here, again, they're for playing characters who are gaining powers from a deity. I think we did all elemental powers in here, or maybe just fire. I don't recall, it's been so long, but once again, characters being heroic, gaining powers. Where's the damage to the brand? I still have nothing. I still can't see what's so bad. Again, unless I'm supposed to be appalled at the outfit. There's another short story with Wildfire that I need to finish. Because, again, a second volume was planned of these, and it stalled out. So the short story isn't quite finished. But maybe I'll get back to it. Werewolf Hunter. This is where I was talking about Lady Satan gaining, the bridge between Lady Satan stories. This is actually where that piece of fiction first appeared. Which one, on her here? Oh, you mean here? Huh. Okay, yeah, I guess I can see that. Oh, I forgot. The art's by Jim Mooney, one of his very early things, very early creations, actually. This is the guy, Jim Mooney, is the one that made Supergirl popular in the 70s with his art. And okay, yeah, she has no clothes on whatsoever, but she's running with these wolves, so that's something. And I forget who did the painting, but it's a fairly famous pulp artist, a woman pulp artist. But yeah, so she's got no clothes on, so that's probably a bad thing. So maybe this. I don't even actually. You know what? I don't even remember what. I think this is a mistake. I don't think there is uh, any open game content in this. Actually, the Werewolf Hunter books. There were two of them, and they fell victim to actually a computer crash. Is why this series stopped because we lost a bunch of the pages that we had been processing and just abandoned the project. Um, but these did pretty well, except people were confused. We had comics, we had fiction, we had game content, role playing game content, we had little puzzle pages. So these are very much like the super old school comic magazines, and the market just doesn't understand those anymore. So we were going to dial it back anyway, if we even if we hadn't lost issue 3. Um, or volume 3, since I don't think we numbered these actually. But we did call it issue, and this issue, see, we were thinking of these as old style comics magazines, which if you've read them, they had everything in them. And here is the second issue. And again, I'm forgetting this artist's name. Oh no, this is Ross Andru. This is very early Ross Andru. But second issue, Werewolf Hunter, Angela Beagle. Um, she did a series of novels featuring werewolves, which is why I reached out to her and I said, "Hey, we're doing this series called Werewolf Hunter. Do you want to give us a really short story? Or do you want to give us a short story? A couple of pages will be fine. I'll pay you, not a lot, but I'll pay you, and we'll plug your novels in there, and we'll give you links on our blog and everywhere else," which we did, and this did pretty well too. But yes, the Naked Wolf Chick. The Naked Wolf Chick. Yeah, except it's the opposite, upside down world and everything. Because Naked Wolf Chicks, I should probably feel guilty about, because are they? Do they make women feel included if there's a Naked Wolf Chick on the cover? Um, and it's not a Naked Wolf Chick, but that is Yvonne Craig, aka Batgirl. I don't know why that photo is in this folder. It's been misplaced. Should be in the Yvonne Craig folder for future Yvonne Craig posts over at Shades of Grey. But yes, Yvonne Craig in her days as a model. Zaza the Mystic. Maybe this is one I should feel guilty about, because this one is about a gypsy, and it calls her a gypsy. And it's a gypsy who has turned her back on her culture, basically. Her culture being a family of con artists, and who basically, or fortune tellers, a family of fortune tellers and circus performers. And she has left the circus. She has left the family business. She has gone and married a normie. She's no longer a traveler. She has settled down. um, living with this. I think it's a cop, if I'm remembering correctly. But since she was raised in the art of the con and was raised around performers and circus people, she she recognizes, she picks up on people that are trying to pull cons or otherwise being sneaky, and so she solves crime. But is a story about a character. Oh, and the whole bit with turning her back on her culture and everything, that's implied. We kind of spell it out in when we develop the background for the character and such in the stories. But in the original Joe Siegel stories, it was implied. Um, so is that unwelcoming and offensive to have a character that has turned their back on their culture, um, and yet still uses the knowledge that she has, um, to fight crime and have adventures and stuff. Um, I mean, she made her intentionally made herself an outsider and now she's serving her community. Uh, Hell, she's a player character basically. I mean, that's what most player characters are. They're misfits. So no, this is another one that I don't think I can muster any guilt about, and I can't see how this is damaging to anybody's brand. And the game mechanics in here are playing characters who are fake psychics, um, basically using body language and uh, picking up on cues and such. So for roguish characters, it heightens up people with that characters already have high wisdom scores or um, you know, intelligence scores and charisma scores. It'll basically some skills and feats that can play off of that some more. Um, yeah, no, I still don't see it. Sorcerers of Zoom, another Brad McDivitt character or cover rather. Sorceress isn't wearing much clothes, and she wears even less than this in some of the comic stories. This is an evil wizardess who has her own flying city. Who she sees an attractive guy. Uh, she goes and tries to grab him, and if he doesn't submit to her, he will turn his girlfriend into a pile of wood. She will attack his city. She'll basically do anything she can to make him submit to her. Um, and then in the end, things end happily because somehow the guy convinces her to back off, or they find a mutual enemy to fight, or something. But again, maybe it's yeah, she has abs and a six pack. Um, so he drew the sorcerer as kind of muscular. Uh, I have a really, again, story is somewhat, it's about half done, but that was another one that got lost in the computer crash. The third volume of Sorcerers of Zoom. Again, I'm looking at this. I don't see anything brand damaging. The rules in this book, I think they were just. I think there was rules for. I think just character stats actually for the sorceress. I don't think there was even any real rules per se. And in Sorcerers of Zoom Down to Earth, Sorceress brings her flying city to Earth. And this is uh, Brad again. And I think this is just something from one of the panels in the comic. This is a collage, I'm pretty sure. But she brings her magical flying city to Earth. The first volume here, she was on her own planet or her own dimension, interacting with people, which is a lot like Earth dimension, because the artists were not terribly creative in their character designs. But here she's come to Earth. She's dealing with Earth people, and I think the rules here were again random plot generators. Oh, and her various magic items. We gave game stats for them in here. Again, I don't know what's brand damaging. So that God, it took me 3 hours, but I got through every. I think that's pretty much every NUELOW Games release up to literally last month that has open game content in it. No, what I'm saying, literally this month, Enchanted Dagger came out last week. So I've gone through everything. I saw 3 things that maybe I should feel like I need to atone for, and then but I don't even think those were something that I needed to. Zaza the Mystic, no. The couple of covers with naked chicks on them, I don't know. No, I don't think so. Um, I am not finding anything that I need to atone for and struggle for. I'm not seeing anything that makes me think that anything I did could have inspired anyone or even. Uh, um, well, I guess at the end of this review, I'm seeing a number of projects that I know now I want to revisit. I want to finish the Source of Zoom short story, which is her origin, reveals why she is such an evil person. Um, Jill Trent would be nice to get back to revisit her. A lot of strong female characters in all these comics that we've been collecting and representing. Uh, that's representation, right? That's inclusiveness, right? So I don't see anything that. Well, my conscience is clear. Even if they noticed tiny little NUELOW Games with our uh, sad sales figures, I think we're pretty much inclusive. I don't think we're racist. I don't think we're sexist. If I'm missing something, anybody that finds this stream later on, please set me straight. Use the comment section. Alshenia, set me straight if you want to. Anyone that's still, I mean, you're. By the way, I'm impressed by your staying power. You are. I think you're the only person left. Um, Thank you. I appreciate your comments. You give me something to bounce off as I've been reviewing the covers and talking. I appreciate that. It's always a lot easier when I'm not completely by myself. But I was going to do this one way or the other. So I got it right the first time, then I've been mispronouncing it. Ashenia. 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 Okay. Ashenia. All right. I will remember that because it's going to be in the side chat forever. Um, and it'll be recorded here, so I can go back and look at what am I saying. This feed is forever. But at any rate, That's all of the NUELOW Games open game products that have been released up to this point. And since they are not, Wizards has decided they're not going to kill open game license 1.0a. The project I was working on, which was essentially compiling a lot of these rules into all of them basically into one source, and then reworking them into a new game system that was divorced from the OGL. I'm probably not going to do that project at this point. Um, oh, you play D&D? Good for you. Um, have you? Don't mind me asking. What systems do you like? I mean, what version are you playing? What version do you like? Um, but anyhow, I'm going to just hold the course with the projects that I am slowly working on. Um, although something got a lot easier. One of the ones I was working on was a project called I decided to call it Punk Kids. It was my working title was uh, I would have gotten away with it too if not. Oh, Meddling Kids was my first initial title. Then I discovered that someone's already done that. But it's a supplement that began as a sarcastic comment on an awful program, a weird movie called Cuties. Not as awful as some people, for the reason some people say, but just if people had kept their mouth shut, it would have just sunk like a rock and nobody would have even known. But you're playing kid characters that either are adventurers or raised in circuses like Zaza, or you know, with superpowers. But you're playing kid characters, and the rules are essentially set up so if anybody remembers the old uh, if you've been around real long time gaming and you remember the old Greyhawk Adventures, you would have seen a zero level character rules. And this idea owes a little bit to that. Basically, the punk kid is a pre-hero hero. There are 4 levels to the punk kid class, and you basically build up stats and abilities and things. So you start out weaker than your standard D&D D20 system starting character, but by the time you get to the 4th level of being a punk kid character, you are either at the beginning level of a uh, standard starting character, or you are actually better off, depending on how you allocated the points and such. I know Hundal's game group had a lot of fun with it, and we fixed most of the abuses. But that is one of the projects that I was doing as going to make a standalone game when it looked like OGL Modern was going away. Now it's just going to be a product uh, that still could stand alone, but really is geared toward a weird bit of play. Um, but on that note, it is now. Oh my God! It's 3.5 hours in, and it is 3 in the morning, and I have a 10 o'clock appointment. Uh oh, or phone call is coming in about 9:30 or 10. Um, oh, you start out playing Baldur's Gate and then Neverwinter Nights. Okay, I own 5th edition D&D. See, I have never played 5th edition D&D. Um, I actually was involved with some of the early playtesting, but by the time the game had, I gather the game is very different than what we were playtesting. But I've never actually played it, and even though I don't know, like at the beginning, I was talking about the 5th edition products we did, and like I said, Andrew Pavlidis is the one who knew fifth edition, and he was the one that wrote those products. I just did flavor text and edited the comics. Okay, so yeah, I've been around a lot longer than is probably healthy, and a lot longer than I should admit. Um, but yeah, I've been playing since tabletop games since the '80s, and as far as the computer games go, I've actually never done any of the D&D computer games. It was a game called Guild Wars is what I play, Guild Wars 2. But on that note, I really should call it a night. 3.5 hours. That's an epic long stream for me. Um, Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it, and hopefully hopefully I will chat again because you had some nice comments. And on that note, I wish you a good morning. And oh, he's played Guild Wars. Your son has played Guild. Oh, good. Did he like it? Hopefully, well, it's really the only game of that type that I've played. That and Guild Wars 2. Um, I need to get back to playing more Guild Wars actually, but I'm having too much fun goofing around on YouTube. Okay, I'm glad because yeah, great game. Still love it. Both versions. But I need to get yeah. Once I get tired of playing on YouTube, I'll probably go back and do some more Guild Wars. But for now, I'm gonna call it a night. Thank you again for coming. And for those of you who find this stream down the road, if you get this far, thank you for watching, and I hope that you do leave some comments. Because if I miss something I should feel bad and guilty about, let me know, and I can do some soul searching. And good night, everybody. I'm going to push the button number 1, and